Thank you very much, the Honorable Minister of Power. It's not easy walking the road.
Please, your
very tight
name?
situation. My name is Akunle Kola Olubeyo. I'm President Nigeria Consumer Protection Network. I recall that in 2013, in this same hall, under Professor Chinedu Nebo, we celebrated attainment of a spike of 5,600 megawatts, 2013. Myself, Nebo, Ambassador Gali were here with the media, and that should be put on record. The first question goes to FG Power, Cement Power Project. I believe that the Cement Power Project is not a free gift. They set a target for 25,000 megawatts under the last administration. What exactly is the problem? Because Nigeria have financial commitment to this. I will raise my question in 2 minutes. Another question is that is to the MDTCN. I'm aware, verified debt of local indigenous contractor to TCN is 70 billion naira. Unverified debt commitment to local contractor, everything put together is about 300 billion naira. Now, NEC have not been paying TCN wheeling charges. Under Dr. Eddie Ej and UG Usman. UG Usman left about 400 billion naira in TCN coffer. So without payment of wheeling charges is the service provided by the transporter of the grid. We are talking about grid constraint. About some weeks ago, I chatted with the minister. His constituency in Oyo, Oshogbo, Ikeja West, the transmission line that is presently under repairs lost 165 megawatts because the line was constructed 60 years ago. The cementer got shattered. So there are a lot of issues of non-investment in the sector. Lastly, the DISCOs, talking about liquidity challenges. The DISCOs are expected to pledge letter of credit to the market, 90 days letter of credit. They've withdrawn that letter of credit. Generation go to the bank and borrow money to buy gas. Transmission provide service is not being paid for. The distribution will take energy on credit and they are not paying, and the end users are paying. What is the Honorable Minister doing about it? And lastly, you talk about the metering. No, it's very, we are representing all of you. We talk about the metering gap. The minister spoke glowingly about some meters have arrived. Arrived from where? Because you have, I'm just being honest, you have indigenous meter manufacturing company. What effort is minister making to strike a balance? You can see what Donald Trump is doing. Globalization, free trade is being reviewed. So we import meters from Asia and China. The Kaduna Disco had experience, so meters was imported and installed. When there was fault, they could not do the maintenance and servicing. So what is the Honorable Minister doing? A lot of Nigerians are committed so much in establishing meter assembly or manufacturing company. What's the Honorable Minister doing to make sure that local indigenous companies are carried along so that we don't just import all our meters, export jobs to Asia and import poverty? Thank you, Honorable Minister. You are doing well.
Thank you. Please, the second person over there. Please, let's keep the questions short and sweet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister of Power. My name is Uket Obonga, Executive Secretary, Power and Energy Consumers Advocates of Nigeria. You said in your presentation, sir, that because of the April 2024 tariff increase for Band A customers, that the sector has witnessed 70% increment in revenue generation, totaling 700 billion. And the reasons the Honorable Minister gave, and you canvassed vigorously last year, was that 15% of Band A customers will generate this money that will scale down the subsidy. Now, I take you back to 2022, when the Honorable Minister of Finance, Ahmed Zainab, declared before the National Assembly that there was no subsidy in electricity, and there was no budgetary allocation for 2023. So when we begin to talk and bandy around that the federal government has spent so much on subsidy, we begin to wonder, where? Please, can you tell us, sir, how much the federal government has spent on subsidy? Secondly, we talked about service-based tariff, which some of us, I'm sorry, we still maintain that it is a scam. Because, one, the NEC last year assembled us, stakeholders, and told us that there were about 1,400 feeders under Band A. But only 400 were retained, and about 1,000 downgraded. And this is after many Nigerians have paid humongous amount of money on that ban, and they were not supplied electricity. What has happened to these billions, hundreds of billions of naira that was paid by Nigerians? And if I remember, Section 13 of MITO 2024 clearly states, and I paraphrase, that when the utility company, the DISCO, fails to deliver on committed service level, upon measurement and confirmation by the Commission, that the customers in that cluster shall be downgraded or migrated to the service level delivered. How many Nigerians have been so downgraded and compensated?
Thank you, sir.
Finally, we talked of 15% of electricity consumers in Band A. I cite example with where we are, the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company. In 2024, last year, there were about 108 feeders, 108 feeders. But today, Abuja has about 300 to 400 feeders on Band A. Do we still retain the 15% customers on Band A? Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Sonny Daniel. I work with Vanguard newspapers. Minister, I don't want to ask you a question, but let me draw your attention to some issues you need to look at. And that is with a view to ensuring that Nigerians that you serve, they will be happy with you as a person, and they will continue to support and give their understanding and goodwill to the government that brought you to power. Minister, it's very easy to come here and read these statistics. You can put statistics together and justify. But let me say that as a Nigerian, I'm sure you drive on the highways in the night. I always drive through AYA towards Cuba every day. Have you noticed that there is not constant power supply to power the street lights on that route? And that increases the potential for security problems for the country. So, instead of asking you a question, please, look into the possibility of making the distribution company that is supplying Abuja to ensure that the least expectation of Nigerians that they should exempt public power supply from tariff. If not for anything, they should be conscious and concerned about national security. If they had done that, the problem we had in Lagos, where Air Force bases were cut off, they said they are owing them 4 billion. That problem wouldn't have happened. Provision of light is a social security service. And Nigeria cannot say that because we are trying to pander to the interests of some capitalists, Gencos, Discos, and then national security will be jeopardized. And let me tell you, Minister, Nigerians are not too happy with you. Because they say the person who dances doesn't see the back. They believe that you have favored the companies providing electricity services. And they believe that if the president did not stop you some time ago, you would have increased tariff again. Are we going to continuously increase tariff? When Nigerians are not seeing the light, let us be fair to ourselves. I'm not going to ask you questions.
Thank you.
Think about these things.
Thank you very much. The lady at the back. The lady at the back. Thank you. Thank you very much, Decoro. Please.
Thank you, my honorable ministers. My name is Gloria Akudoro, and I report for New National Star newspaper. My question is to the Honorable Minister of Power, and I'm drawing it from the angle of the over 4 trillion naira being owned to generation companies. And then when you were talking, Honorable Minister, you made mention of ongoing process to defray this figure. I want to understand, do you have a time limit? Like, is there a time frame to this effect? What I'm being concerned is that just recently, the generation companies issued some threats on shutting down operations. So I want to know if there are time frames to averting this things, the generation company from shutting down their operations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, that will be the last of all the questions. You may wish to respond. The mic is there.
Thank you very much for the questions. Like I said at the beginning of the presentation, that it's my sole responsibility to make the presentation on behalf of my team, whose members are all seated here. But when it comes to questions and answer, I will attempt those I can respond to, while we have experts and specialists in each of these areas that you have raised. So where I cannot give satisfactory response, I believe the chairman NEC is here and others to support me. So I think I will start from bottom up. I will start from Mr. Kule Olubiyo. I will start from the lady from the Nigeria newspaper who talked about the outstanding debt owed to power generating companies. Let me first explain that these debts are unpaid subsidies of the federal government, which is due to the power generating companies. Almost half of it was inherited, while about half of it came from 2024 operations. That's 4 trillion. And I agree with you, there was a publication in the paper where the companies threatened to shut down their plants. I pray not. There are plans underway to make these payments. While I would not say it will be paid 100%, we will be paying it down gradually. And the mode of payment are in 2 ways. We have some budgetary provisions which will facilitate cash payments, while we are also discussing with the generating companies to give them some guaranteed debt instruments, like a promissory notes, which we will give to them to pay down or defray some of these debts. These promissory notes will be liquid enough for it to be taken to the banks for discounting if they need immediate cash injection. So it's a combination of cash payment and promissory notes. And I can tell you that between now and the end of the year, we're going to pay close to 2 trillion out of these 4 trillion. Thank you on that. Yes. But I've had discussion with the Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister for the Economy, who has promised that they are working on the promissory notes. And once we have budget releases, cash payments will also be made. The man from Vanguard, your first question was actually spot on. But beyond supplying electricity to the doorsteps of households, offices, businesses, and industries, we also have the responsibility to ensure that electricity supply guarantees safety and security of our highway. I want to refer you to the 2025 appropriation, and you see a line there which has to do with lighting up our highways for safety and security. That's about 25 billion naira provision to actually light up some major highways this year, and I believe this will continue in subsequent appropriation. We have noted it and will ensure we start the process as soon as we start getting budget release. Yes, yes, that they are not happy with me because there's an insinuation that my policies or our policies are supporting the distribution companies in terms of tariff increase. Let me say something. Before now, Nigerians have always been paying about 20% of energy costs, and government has always been subsidizing. Let me take you back to the days of, I won't even go to National Electric, NEC. I will start from NEPA, the one that we grew up to know. Nigerian Electricity Power Authority and the PHCN, Power Holding Company of Nigeria. Let me tell you, all these were government companies. And they were run by governments, using government funds, not by tariffs paid on electricity. So electricity was almost 90% subsidized in those periods because the revenues were nothing. They were getting government subventions. So when we started privatization, and there were now 11 successor companies from distribution, we have not made any significant review to the tariffs. And we found out that this is one of the restrictive factors hampering the growth of this sector. It's not just about having installed capacity in generation. Are they actually generating power? We have about 14.4 gigawatts of installed capacity. We are just generating 6,000 now, 6 gigawatts. We met 4 gigawatts. Not because they cannot generate, but because there is no demand from the users. And if they keep producing and selling at those costs, they'll be making losses. And we said, government cannot, after privatization, continue to keep funding subsidy, which keeps growing on an annual basis. As our consumption grows, government subsidy keeps growing. So we need to nip it in the bud. We are not saying stop subsidy completely, but subsidy in the past has always been favoring the higher echelon in our society because of the huge consumption. We want to devise a subsidy strategy that will favor the poor so that it will be graduated. If you consume energy to a particular threshold, you enjoy subsidy. Once it's going above a particular threshold, the tariff will go up so that the poor will not be impacted negatively because of subsidy. So we are not unnecessarily favoring the distribution companies, but as businessmen, we believe that average energy cost today per kilowatt of power is about 170 naira. per kilowatt. But 85% of customers are still paying 60 naira. So it is the 110, 120 on top that government has been subsidizing. It is only on 15% that is paying 209 that they are making a profit of about, say, 19 or 29 naira. You understand? So we are saying that we still have to look at this tariff. Fine, there could be issues about not meeting service covenant in some area. NAC is fully on top of that. And if they discover that any distribution company is collecting tariff on band A and they are not supplying up to 20 hours, there are penalties. We are all here when they find Abuja Electricity 200 million naira penalty. And of late now, there's about once chairman, we find about 2 other discos. 600 million, 8 of them that they just find. If there are areas where they've not been delivering on covenants, it's just that they have not been discovered. The moment they are detected, they will be fined. Where you have feeders downgraded from band A, they are not expected to charge band A tariff. They must go down to band B tariff. We can never be on the side of the companies. We are on the side of Nigerians. We must ensure that they not only enjoy reliable electricity, they enjoy affordable electricity. But all said and done, we still need to keep looking at the appropriateness of tariffs. I'm telling you, it affects me too. It's not as if I just want to increase tariff, but we need to look at, we must protect the poor. But energy is expensive all over the world. We all know. After food, security is energy security that most countries of the world are battling with. And we still enjoy the lowest tariff in Nigeria today, I must tell you. So if you are talking about reviewing tariff, it's not that we want to increase tariff, but we want to align the tariff. For example, let me round up on that. Band Bs, a lot of them enjoy 18 hours of light. 17, 16, some enjoy 20. But they are paying 65 naira. Band A's are paying 209. Look at that gap. So everybody is calling that we should align the tariff, not an upward increase. But let's align it with the level of service being enjoyed. And this government will not spare any company that has the sole objective of extorting or exploiting innocent Nigerians. We are on the side of the people and will keep being on the side of the people. That is what I can tell you. Thank you on that. So, the man from Consumer Protection, subsidy by government and feeders on band A and increase in Abuja band A feeders. I won't want to spend too much time trying to explain why government is paying subsidy. It is so clear. It is simple. We know the cost of energy. The invoices sent to the discos by the generating companies based on the PPA signed with these generating companies. The lowest we all know is hydro, and it's not less than 150, 160 naira per kilowatt hour. But how much do people pay? Over 80% of people are still paying 60 naira. So there is a gap. Who is paying for the gap? That is the subsidy. That is the subsidy. So the subsidy is not that we just make it up. We didn't make it up. The subsidy is there. The energy cost is much higher than the tariff that people are paying, except band A people. So and government is responsible for this subsidy, but government has not been paying this subsidy regularly, which is what led to the build-up in the debt being owed the generating companies. So we are talking to ourselves to ensure that we pay this subsidy. And for it not to constitute too much burden on government, because a lot of other ministries are begging for resources. I've said it here. Works, housing, education, defense, everybody, agriculture, they need money. And we all know that Price of oil is going down. Production is not improving. So we can see that government resources too, we are not so optimistic about the growth in government resources. So government must be able to reduce this subsidy. So on band A customers, those feeders that they downgraded, if you know any community or any location where the feeders are downgraded and they still charge children, please do not hesitate to report it to us. I will take action. And if you see anywhere where the feeders have been upgraded to band A and the supply is not up to 20 hours, please do not hesitate to report to us. NAC is there to take the appropriate action. Thank you on that. Then lastly, Mr. Kule Olubiyo, I know we've been having regular discussions, and even 2 days ago, you were in my office, we had some discussions on this. The Siemens project, yes, it was conceived to achieve 25,000 megawatts, but over what period? It is up to 2027, 2030 or so. And it was meant to start in 2018, 2019. Did it start? No, it did not. So that's why we have the variation that we have today. So we are not supposed to even be on the pilot stage now. It's supposed to have ended by 2020. But COVID was there in 2020. The death of the champion of Siemens then, the then late Alhaji Kyari, the transition, democratic transition to new government, everything frustrated the take-off of that project. That is where we are at this stage. Then lastly, is the issue of funding. You cannot do anything without money. You may have laudable plans, but if not supported by adequate funding, those plans will be frustrated. You understand? As of today, we are still talking about the financing arrangement, even for the phase one. We have not concluded. The only one we concluded was the pilot phase, which was just about 56 or 60 million euro. So you can see that it's not as easy. Then on the TCM verified debt and the unverified, TCM is owing a lot of contractors. I must tell you that. But government is owing TCM too. If government is owing private generating companies, how much more a company owned by government itself? And how much pressure can TCM put on government? I've been engaging with the chairman of NAC to ensure that as we are paying, and the SC Energy to Mr. President, as we are intending to pay the GENCOs, let's also not neglect payment due to TCN so that they can discharge on their obligations. I take that point. Then the last point I will answer here is the metering gap. The guarantees of the discos, I think NEC is handling that. The guarantees they're supposed to have, a lot of them are lagging behind in this. We have taken it up and we'll make sure we enforce it. The last one is the metering gap, the interest of the local meter manufacturers. It is being taken care of. I must tell you this. The owners of all these, our fellow brothers, local investors, we cannot allow their investment to go into extinction. So we must patronize them. For this rep, the World Bank funded distribution recovery program, there is a portion allocated for local manufacturers. And they have even started the local competitive bidding, the LCB. And for presidential metering initiatives, 30% is put aside for local manufacturers. So you can be rest assured, you are not the only one that like local patronages. I do like them too. You know, because I have local businesses too. So I can tell you that we have their interest in mind. But the rate at which we want to move in meter acquisition and procurement, they don't have the capacity. They don't. What we have, 90% of them are assemblages. They assemble completely knocked down parts, CKD, or semi-knocked down parts, SKDs. They are not full manufacturers. Local content ranges from 10% to 40%, their own. So we rely more on importation plus local supply. Thank you very much. Yeah.